makes fools of everyone. All the rules we make are broken. Love changes everyone. Live or perish in its flame. Love will never ever let you be the same. Love will never ever let you be the same.
Also acknowledge the fact that our families are here, and thank you very much for coming here today and being with us. So today I'm going to talk about visioning and life visioning and what it is in religious science. I get asked all of the time, I've been doing religious science for almost 30 years, and I'm asked all the time, what is this church that you go to? What is this Center for Spiritual Living, and what do you believe? And I know that there are hundreds of definable spiritual beliefs in the world. And collectively, spiritual beliefs are called cosmology. And cosmology is a type of belief or a collection of beliefs. The cosmology of religious science is the principle, the fundamental description of what we do here at the Center for Spiritual Living. Our cosmology is metaphysics. And metaphysics is a very old word, an ancient word that describes a branch of philosophy that seeks to explain the nature of being and of reality. This belief that we have is of oneness, that there is an organic whole that we are a part of, that we cannot be separate from, and that this organic whole is governed by universal principles. So I think that in a nutshell describes what we believe in the Center for Spiritual Living through religious science. Now in religious science, there are a couple of tools that we use that we feel that we share with the world. Dogma is another name for tools, but dogma is also something I think that's a little bit more stringent and a little bit more controlling than what we believe are a couple of these two tools that we bring to the world. One of the tools is spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment, as Sally said in our introduction, is our form of affirmative prayer. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, refined this process into 5 steps. The 5 steps are, first of all, realization. Realization is acknowledging that God is all there is, that there's only one spirit in and through everything, and that it is whole, perfect, and complete. The second step of spiritual mind treatment is unification, and that is the deep understanding and belief that I am part of that. If there is only one universal law, if God, Spirit, the one is all there is, then that includes me. And once I have grounded myself in that knowledge, then I can move on to my next step of my prayer, and that is the realization. And that is the part that we all pray for, that we are asking for. We don't beseech, we don't request, we don't believe that the universe is something that is judging us and withholding in any way from us. So we speak a realization of what it is that we want. And once we're done with that, we move into Thanksgiving. We offer great thanks and gratitude for what we know and what we have, and then we release it, knowing that as we say it, it is done. This affirmative prayer is so powerful and is such a great tool for us. The second thing that we believe that we bring to the world of spirituality is visioning. And visioning is, as the word describes, is the process of visioning something that we want, or at a greater level, visioning for the greatest good of what it is that we are looking for. This month, we're going to be speaking about visioning every week, and we're using Life Visioning by Michael Bernard Beckwith as our source. Mr. Beckwith is a minister of religious science in Southern California and has a church of thousands of people, and is a great leader and a teacher. This is an amazing book full of amazing thoughts. So visioning, I want to describe to you a little bit about it. Visioning can be done individually, with a partner, or in a group. Visioning is applicable in multiple environments, including business, performing arts, workshops, study groups, spiritual communities like ours. Anywhere a vision and mission is being developed, expanded, or implemented. There is an acceleration and fortification of intention, vision, and manifestation that occurs through the contagion of group consciousness. And yet it all begins in the individual consciousness of each person who is contributing to the collective whole. When we vision, our life exposes itself to us. In other words, if we are willing to remain objective, we will be able to discern without judgment what is required to evolve into the fullest expression of ourselves. We stop struggling against ourselves, and rather, we draw comfort through the openness and receptivity of our own heart's longing to fully live our unique romance with life. Visioning is a fine-tuning of the inner ear to the soul, to the needs of the heart and the soul. It's a beautiful thought that the universe always says yes to us, that whatever we ask for, as long as it's in alignment with good and with growth, that the universe will respond to us affirmatively, and that's a beautiful thing. The 7 steps to visioning, when you attend a visioning session or a gathering, the 7 steps are these. Number 1, meditation. Taking a few moments to be able to slow down and to be able to ground myself with the universal one, the Spirit, that God essence that is through and all around us. Once I've spent a few minutes in that quiet meditative place, I want to start to clearly acknowledge my connection with the universe, that communion that you feel. We're here as spiritual beings, and we're here this morning because we are all on a spiritual quest, seeking spiritual fulfillment. I think that it's fair to say that every one of us, through prayer and meditation, the 2 words are really synonymous, aren't they? We pray and we meditate and we become one with the universe, and we've all experienced that amazing sensation when we are one, when we are in alignment with good and with that universal perfection. So the 2nd step of visioning is to take a moment and recognize that. Then the next steps are the meat of visioning, and they include asking ourselves questions that help us get clear on what we want. Now again, we can vision for ourselves. We should vision for ourselves. The first thing we should be visioning for are ourselves. But we can also take it to a higher level, a different level, and vision for our community, which is something that we're practicing here in Salt Lake City. So the first question we want to ask is, what is the highest vision for my life? What is the highest vision for my life? What seeks to emerge in, through, and as my life? Listen with reverential alertness, as though the greatest mystery of the universe is about to be whispered in your ear. The next thing you ask yourself is, what must I become in order to manifest this vision? What do I need to be in order to produce, to enjoy the greatest experience that I can? The next question is, what do I need to release to manifest this vision? What elements of myself may I, and this is where we really look deeply within ourselves, to release those things that hold us back and to acknowledge the strengths that we have that can move us forward into the great unfoldment of our own lives. The next question is, what talents, skills, gifts, and qualities do I already possess that will help serve this vision? Then, after we've asked these questions, then we answer once we've asked the questions and we listen quietly to our own inner voice, to that quiet stillness inside, we acknowledge wholeheartedly and with great gratitude the information, the inklings, the intuition that we've received. And to it we always say yes. We say yes because we want to believe that more will be revealed and that our course is set and that we will live lives in an abundant nature like we want. Finally, we enter that state of gratitude. And gratitude is so important, isn't it? An attitude of gratitude is salutary. And that means that as we embody our happiness and our gratitude, that we will continue to receive more good. So those are the steps of visioning. How do we get to that place where we can ruminate in the beautiful sense of oneness with God? As we say when we begin every one of our services, we are a center that serves people of all walks of life. And regardless of what source you get your spirituality from, we know that it is true. We know that it is true for you. We know that it is true that you are on a path of growth, and that is what we support at the Center for Spiritual Living. Because the law always says yes, we want to, and the law, when I say law, that is one of those metaphysical, universal laws that governs everything. We know that as we move in a healthy mental state, envisioning the greatest for ourselves, that the universe will say yes. And so we want to be in the most healthy, affirmative mental state we can be in order to tune into that spirit. And that is where the 4 stages of evolutionary growth become important. Now, as I describe these 4 elements of growth that Michael Beckwith describes in his book, I want to be clear, these are not a linear path. This is not something where we start in one place and we go to the next and the next and the next. It's not like that. Again, all of you, all of us are here as spiritual beings, and we have all experienced a feeling of all of what I'm about to describe to you. Steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So please know that there's not a way to pass or to fail or to be better than or worse than, but each of us are on a path, and as that path continues on, we emerge into our own greatness. The first step of consciousness is one that can be called, it happens to me. The universe happens to me. And when we bring that down to a personal level, it can also be called victimization. Victimization. Now, I'm familiar with victimization. Probably no one else here knows what I'm talking about, but I've walked this walk for different times in my life. Stage 1, victim consciousness, when everything happens to me. This is characterized by a mindset that life is done to me by it. And that it may be God, it may be the devil, it may be your parents, it may be not my parents. It may be your DNA, it may be a negative aspect in one's astrological chart, it may be karma, it may be the cosmic tumblers not rolling into place. Something outside of me controls my destiny is the perspective of someone in victimhood. Victims have yet to develop self-awareness, self-responsibility, and self-discipline. But by understanding the power we each possess, we can make different choices. There's a book called The Biology of Belief, where the author exclaims, I was exhilarated by this new realization that I could change the character of my life by changing my beliefs. I was instantly energized because I realized that there is a science-based path that would take me from my job as a perennial victim to my new position as co-creator of my destiny. So next week, Reverend Myrna is going to speak to us at length about this first step, not because we're all there, but because we are all on a path and we want to get clear with each step as we go. But it's important to realize the ways out of victimhood. The ways out of victimhood are really quite simple. They are self-responsibility, self-awareness, and self-discipline. Self-responsibility, oh my gosh. If I take responsibility for everything that I do, then that means that I take responsibility for everything I do. And that means that I can't blame anybody else. I can't blame my upbringing or a church or my school or my partner or anything else. It's all within me. So I have to forgive. And forgiveness and self-forgiveness are the two greatest tools to move out of victimhood. To develop ways to consciously and deliberately forgive those who you think have done you wrong or have put you into the place that you are now. And next week we'll learn a lot more about forgiveness and self-forgiveness, how to move through this first step of consciousness. Okay, so remember, this is not a linear path. We don't start in victimhood and then move to the second step. It doesn't necessarily work that way, but we all are able, and we are all able to embody each of these steps at one point or in one way or another through our lives. So step number 1 is victim consciousness. Step number 2 can be called that step where I no longer feel victimized, but I start to realize that I can do something to it. I can affect the universe. I am involved with the universe at a level where I can now make choices that will help determine the outcome of my life. This is called manifestor consciousness. Manifestor consciousness is actually, I'm happy to report to the people here, this is what religious scientists do. This is the place where we are actively aware that the universe is a malleable whole and that we can interact with it. And what a powerful thing that is. Not just to get things. A lot of people think that's what this is ways to get things. But it's not about getting things. It's about clearing that space within us to be able to continue to grow spiritually through the universe. So here in the manifesting consciousness of step 2, we have this conviction that things happen to it by me. At this level, we understand that we have the ability to make things happen. And this is an increasing sense of self-responsibility. This is metaphysics. Metaphysics has been practiced since the ancient Chinese and Egyptians, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Celts, Aristotle, Plato, and Homer, and then more recently in our own time by Thoreau and others. Remember, we are in a cosmology where metaphysics describes an organic whole that is governed by universal principles. Like a door opening to welcome limitless possibilities, through our thoughts we can invite into physical being prosperity, right livelihood, loving relationships, creativity, and spiritual awakening. When one has evolved from victim consciousness into manifesting consciousness, thought energy begins to be channeled in a mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually healthy direction. It is ours to touch, direct, and to share at every moment. To exercise this level of consciousness, we have different tools that we use. We use affirmations, we use visualization, and we use meditation. Affirmations are a short form of affirmative of a prayer. And in fact, on the table in the hall, I've put out a great number of meditations to share with all of you that we as a center made for marketing and outreach. So after today's service, please help yourself to some affirmations in the hall. Put them on your mirror, put them in your car, take them with you to work. So these tools that we have now begin to move us into a place of being able to commune with the divine, to be able to realize our own greatness and get out of our way, get out of our own way of struggle and of worry that what we are is not enough, because we are. if God is all there is and we are part of God, doesn't that make us whole? Doesn't that make us able to do whatever it is in the world that we desire? All right, so those are the first two steps of consciousness. How do you feel? Yeah, you feel liberated? You feel enlightened? Well, as I said, don't be afraid, because all of these steps are things that we have all experienced at one level or another as spiritual beings. The third step of conscious evolution is what could be called channel consciousness, where we are a channel through which spirit happens. I spent a lot of time reading this book, and I came to realize that step 3 is all about meditation. And again, I want to emphasize that meditation and prayer are the same thing. It is about clearing your thoughts and clearing your mind and being able to be one with that greatness in the universe, because we are a channel through which spirit happens. When we cultivate meditation, when we cultivate prayer, we dissolve any sense of separation. I spent a number of years developing a spiritual practice and a meditation practice. I've come to believe that it is one of the greatest tools that I personally own to accelerate or to encourage my own growth. But what I also know is, as a 52-year-old man, I'll slow down, I'm not 53 yet. As a 52-year-old man, why did it take me so long to develop a meditative practice? Well, one of the greatest excuses I had was 20 minutes. Whoops, sorry, Ross. 20 minutes. 20 minutes, where am I going to find 20 minutes to pray? Where am I going to find 20 minutes in my busy life to slow down enough to meditate and to reflect on my own greatness and my connection with God? Well, what I've learned is very simple, and you all know the answer too, that in 20 minutes I will either be a third of the way through Young and the Restless, or I can be meditating and I can be done meditating. If I take 20 minutes a day to sit and to calmly separate myself from everything going on around me, in 20 minutes from now, I'll be doing something. So why not spend that time in quality prayer with the divine? So what I use are Buddhist mala beads, which are the same thing as a rosary. And I've been carrying them around for a day so that I wouldn't forget them this morning. This for a Buddhist, there are 108 beads, and these are simply prayer beads. And what I use this for, and I've said this before, is that with every breath, I move one bead. With every breath, I move one bead. This takes me 18 minutes. With a little bit of yoga to get in and out of it, I am praying and moving on with my day in 20 minutes. So I encourage each of us, and this is what step 3 is all about, is to slow down and to embody the greatness that is meditation and prayer, that quiet oneness with the universe. I cannot emphasize enough the changes in my life that have just come from 20 minutes of stopping and breathing. Once we have developed that quietness within, we are spirit. In prayer, regardless of your background, regardless of where you've come from, haven't you felt that oneness? Maybe it's in nature as you take a walk and suddenly you are just overwhelmed by this sense of being one with the trees and with the birds and with the sky. And that's the same experience that I have with God when I am meditating on my yoga mat in my bedroom every morning. And that is the point. That is the point where we can move beyond our own conditioning, our own stories, letting go of the stories of how I got here and whose fault it might be, because it's no one's fault. Being able to go to a place where I can now impact the universe by my right action, but now I'm becoming one with God. And that oneness is through my deliberate, peaceful, taking time to meditate. A quote, and this is a feeling that I get when I am in this meditative place. That these are your hands, Spirit, use them. This is your mouth through which you speak, use it. These are your eyes through which you see, and this is your heart through which compassion flows. Stage 4 is being consciousness. Stage 4 is that unique and powerful place. Again, I believe that we've all felt it, even if it's just fleeting. We know that spiritual leaders around the world spend a great amount of time in the fourth level of consciousness, which is when we are directly communing with Spirit through that feeling of great oneness, and that comes from meditation. We've got to slow down enough to be there. That's the work that we have, is to slow down enough to be one with the universe. And when we are, and when we can experience that any elongated period of time, that is a wholeness that cannot be matched by any other experience that I know of. Stage 4, it happens as me. Sometimes this is also the stageless stage, because now we're experiencing that level of consciousness when we are in regular communion with God. There is a song in your secret soul that cannot be silenced. It sings an existential, unceasing melody within you. Then the day comes when through your inner work, you hear and feel the vibration of its cosmic rhythm. Suddenly, you unify with this realization of oneness, of being consciousness. This is our calling. This is our calling to the world. The world, all of this is based in freedom of thought. And right now we live in a world that is fraught with confusion and skepticism and suspicion. The thing that we can bring to it is peace of mind within ourselves. So I believe that communing with God, whatever you call God, however you perceive God, is our calling. I can't believe it. I think I finally found the meaning of life right here. So we are each gifted with this life, and we're given these amazing tools to create the lives we want. These steps begin with each of us individually. Again, visioning is something that we must that I encourage each of us to do, to experience at a personal level. But it is also, we're presenting this at our center because this is also the template that we're using to get clear on our center's future. Here at the Center for Spiritual Living, we are seeking our new senior minister. We are seeking relief from a very expensive facility. We're seeking opportunities to expand our social services. And the way that we do this is through visioning. So I would like to invite you all to join us for visioning after service today. Teresa and I will be visioning in the small classroom off of the lobby, and everyone's invited. Now that I've described it to you, there isn't any confusion about what it is. So please feel free to join us. It'll be about a half an hour's experience. So what's your homework? Your homework is to pray. Your homework is to take a step to realize your greatness with the universe, and God will manifest. God will reflect that back to you as you pray and as you meditate. Whatever you call that time when you separate yourself from everything outside. Turn off your phone. Turn off the TV, and just be one with yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you.